being interrupted.
Yes.
Certain things have been set back. You know, we've lost a lot of things inside Iraq. Definitely, it's a matter of loss, war and loss. But we've not been able. There's a continuity that is amazing happening globally with Iraqi art on a number of different levels. Iraqi artists are finding new means of expressing themselves, and people, those just general people inside Iraq, I think, are developing new voices. So we're finding, for example, photography being used in ways that are quite novel, that we didn't have before. Film is being used, internet is being used. There are all sorts of different things being used. Certainly, I mean, you have this sort of throwback to Saddam period, where some artists were making portraits of Saddam, now they're making portraits of U.S. officers, and so there's continuity there. Was always in this blog speaking about the ingenuity of the Iraqi farmer, the ingenuity of just the Iraqis, because 13 years of sanctions really sort of disrupted the material you needed to build things, and the Iraqis were sort of putting things together and making things, generating. And the U.S. forces actually had trouble because they'd go and find these little workshops or factories that were all jerry-rigged. Sorry? Talk this way?
Yes.
So the Iraqis would be putting things together during the sanctions period, and these sort of special forces would come up, raid buildings, thinking that there'd be chemical weapons, etc., and find these amazing constructions that you could find, Tangili making in a MoMA or in any sort of really developed art place, state gallery. You could take that and put it there. So there's a continuity on many different levels of art in Iraq, and there are new fields that have to be addressed. Now, one reason maybe why Haifa asked me to speak is that I come from a family of artists that have been sort of artists right along, way back. Within the contemporary art, what we call easel painting, my grandfather, for example, was one of the first sort of officers that started painting and studying art. At the same time that he was sort of looking at European art, Europeans were doing the major excavation, and the flood was there in writing and in cuneiform. There's a major connections, and then one of the dangers that we have, and one of the things that I think is connected between Iraqi art and global art, is a fear globally that with the destruction and the death that we find in Iraq, and the destruction of the sort of structure of civilization, that this war has been done despite all the laws, all the etc. so forth. So there's a sense of unease globally. So I can say quite sort of without any doubt that probably Iraq, as a subject matter, is a global art topic. You find artists working about Iraq all over the world. There are exhibitions, museums, everything. It is an international subject. So there's this sort of interesting connection, I feel, between sort of this cradle of civilization, the beginning of civilization, the gift of writing, knowledge, etc., that was found in Mesopotamia, how it, at the beginning and here now, at the end there is a dread. And again, Iraq is that fulcrum. Iraq is that point of it is literally the balancing that comes out in Iraq. We're the next step up. No, it's the country itself. I believe that really totally. And it is what you have to do to survive. And this is what we're looking at, how these artists, what do artists need to do to survive, come out, and how much really the survival of this art is like you pointed out, Haifa, one of those things that really is all we have left. We have to use the art. And that is why, really, all you have to do, I don't need to show you images, because all you have to do is to Google Iraq art and see what happens. And it's not only art, visual art, music, film, you name it, it's there. Students and teachers. So you have this lots of people that are really studying art. It's amazing how many people in Iraq went into art. Art was like boom, yani a boom industry in Iraq. You know, from the time that you know, the pioneers set up the academy and the Institute of Fine Arts and things, it was booming. And I had front row seat. Yani my father was a director general of art during the 70s. He set it up. Things like the music and ballet school. There was an explosion during the 70s where you had a connection of all the Arab countries. You know, Union of Arab Artists, Biennales. People were coming together. People knew Iraqi art. I started working, and a lot of the top artists now of my generation, yeah, started working doing children's magazines, you know, doing you know, learning illustration and doing illustration. Until now, it's still there. And those artists that went through the children's education and culture, it was really interesting. Yeah? You know, really got to grips. Not only did we get some money for the illustrations that we did, but I mean, we were going out, seeing things, and we're talking about the 70s and 80s, where over here in London, you had an Iraqi cultural center, magazines, yeah, all sorts of things that, of relating with them. There is, I'm afraid, yani, at the moment, yani, globally, a form of cultural terrorism and war, or this cultural othering, this attempt to sort of demonize whether it is, you know, the other as animal. You know, when they bomb you or they want to harm you, they want to turn you into a cockroach. You know, and say, you know, you're cockroaches anyway. And you look at the films, you know, of Apache sort of hitting things, and people in green light, unarmed people, you know, voila. You know, the military is a institution that is designed to breed hate and to get the soldiers to go in and kill. You know, the Abbasid architecture, there's only 5 pieces of Abbasid architecture, and some of them have been destroyed within this war. You know, in Baghdad, there is an absolutism about Iraq, you know, and there's an absolutism about this war. It is that future that so enchanted my grandfather, my uncles, and this whole generation to actually, you know, pick up this modern attitude, culture, and work with it and communicate with it, which is what was happening. There was an enchantment. And this war is a betrayal of that enchantment. It's a betrayal of that thing that created that bridge through art that was so taken up by the Iraqi cultural society, not just artists. Artists in Iraq have never worked alone. You see the connections between art and medicine. Doctors that are artists, doctors that support art, architecture, yeah, engineering. Yeah. It was art revamped. The stuff that is happening now in Baghdad, you've got like the eradication of monuments. Alhamdulillah, some of the few monuments, and for example, the monument to the martyrs, which is a dome, you must have seen it, split dome, blue split dome. And I think the Guardian of them that made a thing saying that this is one of the 7 most impressive memorials in the world. It is now occupied by American troops. They're using it as a base. Yeah? As they're using Uruk as a base. As they used Babylon and destroyed it as a base. As they're sitting on the neck, as we say in Iraqi, you know, on our necks to grind it into the ground. You know? And it is specifically those cultural things that are being destroyed. You know? There's attempts to, you know, sectarianism, etc., and the monuments are being destroyed because of religious. That's bullshit. The monuments are not being destroyed because of any religious thing. Yeah? They're thieves that do. You know, you've got a monument like the Ras Ja'far Mansour. You know? That's like, you know, 50 tons of bronze and copper. You know? Any guy who can, all you have to do is take a truck. Nobody's going to assist him. He's got enough firepower around him, and voila, he literally pulls 50 tons of bronze and goes and sells it. They sold the whole infrastructure of the country like that. Yeah? It's a den of thieves. It's not a matter of religion or anything, whatever. It is the savage sort of putting on the selling block of all of Iraq. It is literally, it is biblical in the proportion. I mean, there's not just about the continuation, because in any situation, whatever the situation, Iraqi creativity will come through. And the Iraqi creativity is global creativity, is world creativity.